I never thought I'd feel alive again at 70. But then he came into my life. I thought my days of passion were behind me. My life had settled into a routine, quiet, predictable, and safe. But sometimes, life has a way of surprising you. A glance, a touch, a conversation that lingers a little too long. Is it possible to find love when you least expect it, even at 70? Or is it just the thrill of a forbidden secret? I'm 70 years old, and for most of my life, I've been content with my quiet, routine existence. I spent my days tending to my garden, reading books, and enjoying the simple pleasures of life. I had my family, my friends, and a comfortable home. But I never expected anything to disrupt the calm I had built for myself. That was, until he entered my life. And suddenly, everything changed. I'm not your typical love story. This isn't about finding someone my age, someone who shares my history, my memories. This is about something deeper, something that made me feel alive again, something I thought I had left behind years ago. It wasn't just about affection, it was about feeling seen, feeling wanted, feeling like I mattered in a way I hadn't in decades. It all started when I hired a young gardener. His name was Alex. He was in his early 30s, full of energy, with a smile that seemed to light up the entire yard. He was different from the people I usually interacted with. He didn't talk about the same things, didn't share the same interests. But there was something about him, something that drew me in. At first, it seemed like just another task, someone to help with the garden, trim the hedges, and water the plants. But little did I know, he would awaken something inside me I thought was long gone. It wasn't just the way he looked at me, or the way he listened when I spoke, it was the way he made me feel, as though I wasn't invisible anymore. At first, it was innocent. Alex would come by to trim the hedges, water the plants, and take care of the garden. I'd watch from the window, keeping an eye on the progress of the yard while I sipped my tea. It was just a task, nothing more, and I'd never thought much of it. But as the days passed, our conversation started to evolve. At first, it was the usual pleasantries. He'd ask about my day, comment on how beautiful the flowers were, or mention how the weather was changing. Simple things. But then, he began to ask more personal questions, questions I hadn't been asked in a long time. He wanted to know about my life, my past, my experiences. It wasn't just idle curiosity. There was something in the way he asked, something that made me feel like he genuinely cared. He'd ask about the places I'd traveled, the books I'd read, the memories I cherished. And I found myself opening up to him, sharing things I hadn't spoken about in years. At first, I tried to brush it off. I wasn't looking for anything, certainly not a relationship. I had lived a full life, had my share of love and loss, and I was content with my quiet routine. But when someone makes you feel young again, when someone makes you feel like you're not invisible, it's hard to resist. The way he looked at me, with such interest and admiration, was something I hadn't experienced in a long time. He made me laugh, made me feel like I was still worth something, still capable of excitement and joy. And when he spoke to me, it wasn't just about the garden or the weather. It was about life, about the things that matter, about what makes us who we are. In those moments, I felt seen. I felt heard. I felt alive. Of course, I knew the reality of our situation. He was 30, half my age. I could already hear the judgment in my mind, the whispers, the looks, the comments people would make if they ever found out. I knew what people would say about a woman my age being involved with someone so much younger. It would be labeled as inappropriate, reckless, maybe even scandalous. I had lived long enough to understand how society would view us. But what people didn't know, what they couldn't understand, was that he made me feel like I mattered. He made me feel like I was more than just the sum of my years, more than just the person I had become. He made me feel beautiful in a way I hadn't felt in decades. It wasn't about the age difference. It wasn't about the scandal or the judgment that could come with it. It was about something deeper, something that stirred something inside me that I thought had long since faded away. I tried to convince myself that it was nothing, that I was just enjoying the attention, that I was just flattered by his kindness. But every time he smiled, every time our eyes met, I felt something stir inside me. Something I hadn't felt in years. Something I thought I had lost. And no matter how hard I tried to dismiss it, to tell myself it was just a harmless flirtation, I couldn't ignore it. I couldn't ignore the way he made me feel alive again. It wasn't just about the way he looked at me, or the way his touch sent shivers down my spine. It was the way he made me feel, alive, desired, like I was worth something again. The first time he really looked at me, I felt something shift. It wasn't the polite glances I'd grown used to, but something deeper, more intense. His eyes lingered a little too long, as though he was seeing something in me that no one else had. It wasn't just physical attraction, it was the way he saw me. He didn't see the years, the wrinkles, the age. He saw the woman I used to be, the woman I had forgotten was still there. And when he smiled, that smile that reached his eyes, I felt a warmth spread through me that I hadn't felt in decades. It was like I was suddenly seen in a way I had longed for, but had never expected to find again. His touch was even more powerful. At first, it was innocent enough, a light brush of his hand as he handed me a rake or helped me carry a pot. But each time, it lingered just a moment longer, as though he was savoring the contact. The first time his fingers grazed my skin, I felt a jolt of electricity shoot through me. It wasn't just a physical reaction, it was an awakening. I could feel my heart racing, my breath quickening, and in that moment, I realized I hadn't felt that kind of rush in years. It was a reminder of the passion I thought I had lost, of the woman I used to be, the one who could make someone else's heart race. At 70, I thought those days were behind me. I thought the excitement, the thrill of being desired, was something that belonged to my past. I had accepted that my best years were behind me, that the years of romance and passion had long since faded into memories. But with him, everything changed. I started to look at myself differently. I saw myself as more than just a woman of a certain age. I saw myself as someone capable of feeling passion, of being desired, of having a connection that was real and raw. Every conversation with him made me feel younger, more vibrant, as if I was rediscovering parts of myself I had forgotten. And when he looked at me with that intensity, I felt like I was in my prime again, as though the years had melted away and I was once again the woman I had always wanted to be. But even as I felt myself falling deeper into this connection, I couldn't ignore the fact that what we were doing was risky, even dangerous. I knew the consequences of this affair could be severe, but the excitement of it, the thrill of having a secret, was almost too much to resist. Every time we spoke in hushed tones, every time we exchanged a glance that no one else could understand, I felt like we were living in a world of our own. A world where age didn't matter, where judgment didn't exist, and where the only thing that mattered was the connection between us. But I also knew that if anyone found out, if my friends, my family, anyone knew about what was happening, it would destroy everything. The judgment would be harsh, the gossip would be endless, and the shame would be unbearable. But despite all of that, the excitement, the passion, the secrecy made it feel like we were living in a bubble. A bubble where nothing else mattered but the moments we shared in private. And as much as I told myself I shouldn't, I couldn't stop myself from wanting more. But as time went on, I began to wonder, what would happen if people found out? Could I really live with the consequences of our secret? It wasn't just the fear of getting caught, it was the fear of losing everything I had built. My life, my reputation, my family. I had always prided myself on my independence, my quiet existence, but now, I found myself questioning everything. The excitement of the affair had clouded my judgment, and the thrill of secrecy had made me forget the real-world consequences. I knew that if anyone found out, my life as I knew it would shatter. My friends would never understand. My family would be shocked. I could already hear their voices, filled with disbelief, their words of judgment ringing in my ears. They would never accept it. I knew that. But in those moments, when I was with him, I didn't care about the world outside. I didn't care about the consequences, because when we were together, I felt alive in a way I hadn't in years. But then, something happened that I didn't expect. I found myself questioning everything I thought I knew about love, desire, and what it means to truly live. It wasn't just about the physical attraction anymore. It wasn't just about the excitement of our secret. I began to realize that what I was feeling wasn't just a fleeting desire. It was something deeper, something I hadn't felt in so long. But it was also something that made me uncomfortable, something I wasn't sure I was ready to face. Was this truly love? Or was it just a desperate attempt to feel alive, to feel something, when I thought all the best parts of my life were behind me? I started to question my motives, to wonder if I was simply trying to recapture my youth, to fill the emptiness I had felt for so long. Was this affair a reflection of something deeper, something that had been missing in my life for years? Or was it just an escape from the reality of aging, from the loneliness that had crept in as I got older? I had never expected to feel this way, and the more I thought about it, the more confused I became. The thrill, the passion, it all seemed so real when I was with him. But when I was alone, when the silence of my house returned, the doubt began to creep in. Was I just fooling myself? And then, just when I thought I had everything under control, the situation took a turn. Something happened that changed everything. A moment of weakness, a slip-up, something I couldn't take back. It was the kind of mistake that could unravel everything, the kind of mistake that would force me to face the consequences of my actions in ways I hadn't prepared for. It was no longer just about the secret, it was about what I had allowed myself to become, and what I was willing to lose to keep this forbidden love alive. As our relationship grew, so did the risks. At first, it was easy to convince myself that we were careful, that we could keep this secret hidden away from the world. But the longer it went on, the more dangerous it became. Every time we met, every stolen kiss, every moment we spent together, the stakes got higher. I knew we were playing with fire, but I couldn't stop myself. There was something about him, something about the way he made me feel, that kept pulling me in. He promised me over and over again that we'd find a way to make it work, that we could keep it a secret forever. But as much as I wanted to believe him, deep down, I knew that secrets like this don't stay hidden forever. The longer we went on, the more impossible it seemed to keep it under wraps. And yet, I couldn't bring myself to walk away. I was torn between the excitement, the passion, and the reality of what this could mean for both of us if anyone found out. Did I want to keep living this lie? Was I willing to risk everything, my reputation, my family, my peace of mind, for a relationship that was built on secrecy? Or was I ready to face the truth, to acknowledge what was really happening between us, even if it meant losing everything? Every day, the questions swirled in my mind. I couldn't ignore the truth of what we were doing. I couldn't deny that it wasn't just a fling, a passing moment of weakness. This had become something more. But at the same time, I couldn't shake the fear that I was throwing away everything I had worked for, everything I had built, for something that was, at its core, dangerous and forbidden. But there was one thing I couldn't ignore: he made me feel alive again. And in a world where I thought I was invisible, where I thought I was just another woman getting older and fading into the background, that meant everything. The way he looked at me, the way he made me feel, like I was still capable of passion, of love, of excitement, it was intoxicating. I hadn't felt that in years. I hadn't felt that in decades. He brought something out in me that I thought had long since disappeared. And in those moments, when I was with him, I didn't care about the consequences. I didn't care about the judgment. I didn't care about the whispers behind my back. All that mattered was how he made me feel, alive, wanted, seen. It was as if I had been reborn, as if all the years I had spent thinking I was past my prime had been erased in an instant. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I mattered. But even as I reveled in those moments, I couldn't shake the nagging feeling that it couldn't last. That something was bound to go wrong. And when it did, it would change everything. But for now, I held on to the feeling he gave me, the feeling of being alive, of being desired. And in a world where so many people had forgotten about me, where I had almost forgotten about myself, that was enough to keep me going. I don't know what the future holds for us. I don't know if this affair will continue, or if it will come crashing down like so many secrets do. But one thing is clear, he gave me something I never thought I'd have again. A reason to wake up every day and feel like I mattered. At 70, I had convinced myself that my best days were behind me, that I was too old for passion, for excitement, for anything that made me feel truly alive. But he proved me wrong. He made me feel seen, heard, and desired in ways I hadn't felt in decades. He reminded me that even when the years pile up, we're still capable of feeling everything: love, desire, joy, and even the pain that comes with it. And for that, I will always be grateful. Maybe this story isn't about age, or love, or even secrets. Maybe it's about what happens when we dare to live outside the box, when we embrace what makes us feel alive. It's about finding the courage to step outside the expectations of others, to live in a way that makes us feel whole, even if it's not what everyone else would choose. It's about embracing the parts of ourselves that we thought we had lost, and realizing that we're never too old to experience life to its fullest. Maybe the real lesson here isn't about age gaps or forbidden love. Maybe it's about living authentically, even when it's hard, even when it means making choices that others won't understand. Because, in the end, the only thing that truly matters is whether we feel alive in our own skin, whether we've dared to live in a way that makes us feel like we're truly here, truly present. I don't know what will happen next. Maybe I'll walk away from this and go back to my quiet life. Maybe we'll continue this secret, no matter the cost. Or maybe, in time, the truth will come to light, and I'll have to face the consequences of my choices. But for now, I know one thing for sure: I'm no longer invisible. I'm no longer a woman whose best years are behind her. Because, thanks to him, I've learned that it's never too late to feel alive again. What do you think? Could you ever find love with someone so much younger? Or is there a line that shouldn't be crossed? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below and let's talk about it. If you want to hear more stories like this one, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. There's so much more to come, and trust me, you won't want to miss it. Stay tuned for more secrets, stories, and everything in between.